Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and Estonians, and welcome. You know, I've been playing quite a lot of zombie survival games recently, such as DayZ, The War Z, The Deadlinger, even Project Zomboid, but that's actually single player, so that's really not included in this. And well, I've been enjoying them quite a lot. I was actually going to make a Deadlinger multiplayer video, but I didn't feel it was necessary to put it up because, well, it's pretty much just the same as the single player experience at the moment. Except there's other people around. I mean, you can't dine in and all that kind of nonsense. It's still an alpha, don't forget, so I didn't really think it was fair to actually commentate on it at the same time because it's still in early development. I felt like doing the single player version of it because, you know, may as well just check out the game in some context and see what it's like. But it actually got me thinking, what would I like to see in zombie games? Because, well, I look at the War Z, the DayZ, Deadlinger. They're not all officially released yet. Well, I suppose War Z is back on Steam now, so. But I don't really think that's great. I don't really think they're scary enough. I don't really think they portray the world of a zombie survival game that well. So I figured, you know what, let's stick in my own suggestions out here. Let's throw them out. Let's throw them at the wall that is the internet, because it's the internet after all. We're all entitled to our opinion. And so here's my opinions on how to improve online zombie survival games. Now, my first opinion, of course, is to make the world feel more real. You play the War Z, you're looting around in the city, and suddenly you just realise that half the buildings just aren't enterable. And you know what? I can understand that from a technical standpoint. You can't actually build the inside of every building in the game. Although the Deadlinger did that. I think pretty much every building in the entire game is actually enterable in that, and that's pretty good. Although I don't really think that's as realistic as having some buildings not enterable. But what I'm trying to say is, have an excuse for why we can't enter some buildings. Perhaps there's some rubble blocking the outside of the building. Perhaps the building is being destroyed, or it's so derelict and run down. Say the building's being burnt down. That's an excuse not to go into a building, but even then if it's a burnt building, you could possibly still enter it, you just won't have anything inside of it. And another thing that gets me in these games, I mean, why don't all the cars run? Granted, some of them are burnt down, but it's like you can't enter some of the cars because, quite simply, like, let's go to the DayZ now. In DayZ, only certain cars are enterable. Okay, that's very well and fine, those are the cars that work, but what about the cars that don't work? I mean, wouldn't it actually be logical to be able to enter all the vehicles, just not have them be able to run? Say, trying to escape a zombie. Climb into one side of the car, climb to the other side of the car. I know it doesn't make any sense, but what if there's like a blockade of cars and the only way to get through the blockade was to actually go through the vehicles? That would be kind of interesting. Of course, you wouldn't have the cars run because, well, they're out of gas and they're possibly even burnt out. But that would actually give a reason to actually add more points to petrol. It would allow you to find some petrol, fill up any car and just drive it along. I mean, that sounds real to me. After all, don't forget that these games are based in real, well, not real places, of course, but they're in zombie apocalypses. Before the apocalypse struck, these places were living, working places where people went to work, went to the shops, drove around in their cars. When a zombie apocalypse would hit, obviously the first thing people would do is get into the cars and drive. So that's probably one excuse why the cars would be running out of petrol. People were driving for as long as they could, ran out of petrol, and eventually just gave up and went on foot. So why wouldn't it make sense to be able to go back to that car, fill it up with petrol, and then carry on driving it? That would make a lot more sense to me than just having not every car drivable to me. Next, we're going to talk about risk and reward in these games. Now, what this means, of course, is that you take risk in order to get reward. You find a house, you fight zombies that are outside of it, and then you go into the building to see if there's any rewards in there. And that works in all these games. And that's what the risk and reward is at the moment in the game, as well as player interaction. In these games at the moment, you have two choices. You find a town or a building, you try and enter it to loot it, you kill any zombies that are on the outside, you get the loot on the inside, and then when it comes to player interaction, you have the reward of being able to have somebody to interact with, a fellow human being who is possibly going to help you hunt zombies and get better loot, or in the bandit way, the attempt to kill people in order to get their better weapons. But I think that's limited at the moment. What I would like to see is, well, high concentrations of zombies, like say a military installation, or even better yet, a science lab in one of these games. Have one of those places with like this really insane gear that you can have access to. I want to talk about what kind of gear you can have in there. I'm not going to be silly and say something like laser weapons, rocket launchers and stuff like that, but have some of that be really valuable to the player and have it in a really difficult place that's hard to get to. What this will actually do as well is encourage player interaction and encourage fellow players to actually team up in order to try and enter these buildings, because quite honestly, a single player isn't going to be able to destroy, say, 50 zombies at the same time. What you need is a group of people in order to help you do that. It would possibly make encouraging meeting random people in the game as well and asking them for help in order to do things. Of course, that could also lead to you getting shot in the face, but risk reward once again. And also, I want to talk about endgame. Endgame is something that these games sorely lack at the moment. The goal of these games at the moment is to simply say, survive. You do that by running around, finding food, water, blood packs, weapons to defend yourself, and well, it's just a vicious circle really. You play it, you die, you play it, you die, and well, that's not a bad thing. There isn't really anything for people to work towards. I do understand, of course, that when you die in these games you lose everything, and then you come back, you start a new life, and then you play over again. But aside from that, you're just living. And don't get me wrong, it is fun to live, but you're not really living. You're not really working towards a goal. It's like living a second life, and I've already got one of those. I can't really afford to live a second one. Don't get me wrong, it is entertaining, it is a nice break from reality, but have something different, an end goal to work towards. Have, say, the opportunities to build, say, a community. Say, build your own houses, build your own buildings. They can be destroyed by other players, zombies, and over time, which would really require constant maintenance, constant defense, or you can just dump them and just find another place, which would also increase the chances of other players coming along trying to find other loot. That's always a good game. I know that, say, that settlement idea has been something that's been thrown around by Rocket off DayZ, but I haven't actually heard anything about it recently. And of course, I don't really know when that game's going to be coming out, so I can't really say anything about that too much at the moment. And now we actually finally want to talk about what I want to talk about. This is actually the main concern for me. This is what I've been building up to, and half of you have probably left, but now for the rest of you, I'm actually going to enlighten you with the rich stuff of my mind about zombie apocalypses. And in all of these games, well, apart from the Dead Linger, in the DayZ and the WarZ, we're talking about zombies here, by the way. Now, in these games, zombies run. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Zombies are easy to kill in these games as well. Okay, I guess that's fine if there's quite a lot of them. Zombies, there's not a lot of zombies as well, I find. What am I trying to say here? Well, I think that the zombies should return to their roots in these games. By that, what I'm talking about is, well, for my definition of the zombie is the George A. Romero zombie from the Dawn of the Dead. The slow, shambling zombies, only killable by destroying the brain, unstoppable killing machines that won't stop until they either degrade over time, or the brain is destroyed, or the heads are chopped off. To me, that's my zombie. That's the most terrifying kind of zombie you have. And that's the other thing that's supposed to be about zombies. There's supposed to be so damn many of them. Okay, let's talk about technical limitations quickly. Well, I guess you can't have, say, 200 zombies on screen at the same time in Chernogorsk and DayZ. But that would be interesting, I think, having so many zombies. However, they're not running zombies, not fast zombies. These are slow zombies, and they are extremely hard to kill. Would this make the game better? Honestly, I think it would. Increasing the difficulty of killing zombies would encourage you to deploy tactics, learn new ways of killing them. It would also allow you to rely on melee weapons a lot more. Of course, it'd be incredibly hard to kill the zombies. I could say you could technically wound the zombies in my head. This is the way I'm talking about it now. You could, of course, slice a zombie's legs off, slice his arms off, make him less aggressive, perhaps even take a jaw off. You can even decapitate the zombie. The head will still be dangerous, of course. But yes, what I would like to see in these games is more difficult zombies. Perhaps have a hardcore mode, where zombies are slower, harder to kill. This will force you to conserve your ammo, rely on melee weapons more, and would make towns and cities a hell of a lot difficult, which would possibly require more teamwork in games, which will allow you to team up with other players in order to scavenge for items a lot more better, while fending off zombies. And another thing I found about these games, there's not very many zombie types. There's only the one zombie, the bug standard, I'm a zombie, I'm gonna eat you, rah 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 rah. Now, I've been complaining about the whole zombie thingy, about zombies not being true to the original cause of zombies, such as George A. Romero films, but that's no excuse not to tinker with the formula a little, is it? I mean, I loved Resident Evil. That's my number one, that's possibly one of my few favourite zombie games. But to me, the most exciting part about the Resident Evil series was the mutation of the zombies, was the viruses, then its mutation. The tyrant at the end, which is the super zombie even. Now, I'm not saying have a super zombie in the game, but I'm thinking different zombie types. I'm thinking more or less like Left 4 Dead lines, but not to say action-packed as Left 4 Dead. I'm not talking about boomers or spitters or anything like that, or tanks, or leapers or smokers or anything like that. What I'm thinking about is different things, and I'm just going to throw a few ideas out just to show you how easy it is. Firstly, Screamer. This is the kind of zombie that is weak initially, but it screams very loudly when it sees you and attracts zombies towards your area. This will either encourage you to sneak around it or take it out early on so it doesn't attract zombies. Here's another type for you. Charred zombie. This is a zombie that's been burnt out, and also makes logical sense because fires would occur in a zombie apocalypse. This zombie is still alive, the zombie is slow. The only bad thing about him is that he's hard to see at night. He's nearly invisible without a torch. Since he's so light from lack of skin, lack of body tissue, lack of body mass, he's very light, he's very hard to see. Also, he can't moan, but he can bite you. And the only way to see him is to be very careful at night or have lots of lights around. Of course, lights would attract zombies, of course, but it would make you a lot more safer from these charred zombies. Also, charred zombies would be very easy to kill during the day, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, another one, and the final one that I'm going to suggest here, there's a giant zombie. Now, I'm not talking about tanks, no, I'm talking about really ridiculously huge zombies. I don't know, maybe these zombies had one too many munchies and ate far too many people, but he's a freaking giant. This is a giant of a zombie. This zombie roams countrysides because he's too big to fit in the towns. Also, he can't run through forests, but he will kill you and he will beat the living hell out of you and he will eat you in one gobble. Nom 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 nom. The trick about this is to make the countrysides more dangerous because, well, countrysides aren't dangerous in zombie games. There's nothing around. Having a giant zombie, lumber around the countryside adds peril to the game. You don't know where he is, or of course you could see where he is. He's giant for goodness sake. He also makes loud booming footsteps as he walks along. You can see him, and he's very easy to avoid in trees and cities. However, if you want to cross that large open field to the other side of the bush, you have to watch out because giant zombie might just be sneaking behind a very large house. Or bending over behind a small building. Okay, that's very logical. Zombies wouldn't actually have the intelligence to do that. But it's just a thought. It's just an idea. More zombie variety would be a great thing in these games, I think. It would add to the difficulty. It would allow you to adapt. It would force you to adapt. It would make you learn new situations and give you new skills in order to survive a zombie apocalypse. And you know what? We're going to leave the video at this. I've been ranting for far too long. And we're going to leave the video at this. I've been systematic, and a big thank you for watching. And I hope I haven't bored you too much. This has been my video on how to improve online zombie survival games. Don't forget to pay your taxes by liking and posting a comment. And subscribe to Join Sistonians today. And I will see you soon.